This is Dr. Susan Berger with Philip Shepherd. Philip, once again, I wanted to speak to you a little bit about some of your insights that you're going to share with us at the Embracing the Deep Mystery of Wholeness workshop at the end of June, June 25th and 26th in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Really excited to have you and some other amazing speakers there. In your work, you talk a lot about the pelvic bowl and the perineum and a very deep place in the body. In our culture right now, in our world right now, we talk a lot about the mind. There's a lot of talk about the heart, opening the heart, and we know through heart math and a lot of even just research that the heart is so powerful. We know now that there's a brain in the belly. Thinking cells are all over the body. So tell me what you feel is so important about adding the awareness and the connection with the pelvic bowl, with the dantian, whatever, brain in the belly, but even deeper than that. How did you come upon that awareness and that feeling of being there and what that means?
It's something, for whatever reason, that I keenly felt when I was 16. And I think of that. I think of the pelvic bowl as the place of being. That when your awareness is in the head, you're preoccupied with doing. When you drop your awareness down to the pelvic bowl, you attune to being in a whole different way. And when I was young, I could feel my sense of being actively corroded in a way by the structures and the conformity and the ways of thinking that I was brought up with. And so my earliest awareness was of a sense of rage in that place. My being was being violated. And so that rage eventually carried me out of my culture and into the world in a very positive way. But in the process of traveling into the world, I went to Japan and studied classical Japanese theater. And it was in studying Japanese theater that I was introduced to the concept of hara. And hara is the Japanese word for belly. And in the Japanese culture, the belly is understood as the seat of your profoundest understanding, your most intimate personal truth, your deepest knowing. And to come back to that place is to come home to yourself. And then, as I began inquiries, I realized, well, the Mayan culture, the Incan culture, the Philippine culture, the Chinese culture, they all have this touchstone of coming back to that place in the body. So, it was kind of interesting that where that center of grounded being is located, there happens to be a brain that has been ignored by Western culture every bit as much as that quality it holds of enabling us to come to rest in the present. So the brain, in the belly is where we can consciously be. And its importance, in our culture, you're absolutely right that the heart is so important. But I think it's an error, even dangerous, to try to go from the head to the heart. Because the heart derives its nourishment, derives its stability and its strength from your being. So to go from the head to the heart, you're sort of leaving the heart in a vulnerable position where the head is saying, I should be compassionate here, or I should open my heart here. So that it's like the heart is susceptible to taking instructions from the head. Now, once you drop your awareness down to the pelvic bowl, that sense of being that you arrive in animates and activates, and and it, the energy of your being just naturally rises up and your heart opens to the world. When it happens like that, it's supported by the whole of your being, which is a really different quality from trying to move from the head to the heart, because you want to live in the heart and open the heart. So that, that brain in the pelvic bowl is what I think of as the ground of my being. And literally, when I want to come home to myself, it's really a physical sensation of coming down to rest on the pelvic bowl. And when I do that, when I arrive on the pelvic floor, it's like I click into a sense of my own wholeness. So that's really, in a nutshell, how I see that, this relationship. It's not that we throw away the brain and the head or eclipse the heart. It's a matter of bringing those three centers of thinking into relationship. And when they're in relationship, most effectively for me is when I recognize that the pelvic bowl is home.
Yeah.
And we, in our culture, we tend to make home in the head.
Right. And one of the things I learned so much about from you and from the exercises that you do is that we don't not only just talk about what you just said, but simple ways of really feeling into that and really knowing what you're saying to be true. I look forward to you being at the workshop and sharing some of these so people can experience exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that whole connection with, wholeness and really being there and being able to live in that way.
It's there waiting in everyone.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of our culture has put up barricades that prevent us from accessing it, but it's there the whole time.
Bring down the barricades.
We got it.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you so much.